Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will now hear a recitation from the Holy Quran. I will invite Qari Hafiz Naseem Khalil to the rostrum.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah. We will now see a short video of the OIC journey through the decades.
Humanitarian assistance across the Muslim world through its subsidiary bodies. As recently as December 2021, an extraordinary session was convened of OIC Council of Foreign Ministers to address deteriorating humanitarian situation in Afghanistan. OIC has unlocked an enabling environment for the economic development of all member states through an institutional infrastructure that allows us to forge robust commercial ties. To reiterate Pakistan's commitment towards technology and modernity, the Secretariat for Comstech of the OIC is situated here in Pakistan. The OIC adopted a 10-year action plan to combat Islamophobia and extremism in 2005. It established the Islamophobia Observatory to monitor and address global anti-Muslim sentiments. At the 47th session of OIC Council of Foreign Ministers in Niger in 2020, March 15th was unanimously adopted as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia through a resolution tabled by Pakistan. Pakistan led the OIC initiative to secure adoption of a landmark resolution by the United Nations General Assembly to designate 15th March as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. This resolution was adopted with the unanimous approval of UNGA on 15th March 2022. Being a strong proponent of human rights, the OIC established the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission, IPHRC, in 2011. This commission focuses on the rights of women and children while advocating the right to education and development, with a special emphasis on human rights education. Its goal is to counter Islamophobia and draw global attention to the rights of Muslim minorities. The human rights situation in Palestine is one of its serious concerns. The 8th OIC Ministerial Conference on Women adopted an important resolution on the protection and empowerment of women. Pakistan is one of the founding members of the OIC and has played an active role in the organization since its inception. Pakistan has a proud history of hosting major OIC events, including summits and Council of Foreign Ministers (CFM) meetings. Pakistan's primary focus is on unity, brotherhood, and prosperity of the Muslim Ummah. Pakistan is proud to host the 48th session of the OIC CFM in partnering for unity, justice, and development. We welcome you all to Pakistan. Allahu Akbar.
Excellencies, I will now invite His Excellency Hasumi Masudo, Chair of the 47th session of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers, to commence the formal proceedings of the session.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Que la paix et la bénédiction d'Allah soient sur les plus nobles de tous les messagers, le prophète Mohammed, ainsi que sa famille et ses honorables compagnons. Excellences, honorables participants, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Avec l'aide d'Allah, nous déclarons
with the assistance of God, we declare open the 48th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. May I be allowed, Excellency, to take the floor from the podium for a brief intervention. In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the ministers, honorable ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Allow me first of all to address my sincere gratitude to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz bin Al Saud, for his sustained support to our organization and towards all the goodwills extended to us in terms of achieving certain attainments during our chairmanship, and that they continue to working for the benefit of our Ummah. Our congratulations go to His Excellency Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Qureshi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and Chairman of the 48th session of CFM, and for the goodwill and good measures taken for the success of this session. Allow me also to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to His Excellency Hussein Ibrahim Taha for his election, to the post of Secretary General of the OIC. May Allah guide you on and accompany you in your tasks. The goals and our history are well known. I'd like to express congratulations to the Secretary General and the other colleagues who accompanied us in our plans against COVID-19. It is within this context that our session, whose theme is establishing a partnership for unity, justice, and development. How could we have a more noble goal than vanquishing poverty and ensuring stability in our countries, in the Ummah? This theme translates our will and determination, for there cannot be a partnership without equity, without justice, and the respect of these values are conducive to development. This is to underline the importance of this theme of our organization. and of this session.
Excellencies,
Ladies and gentlemen, the ministers, the 47th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers that was held in Niamey under the chairmanship of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, Mr. Gala Kongorong, adopted a number of resolutions, some of which have been translated through activities over the past 2 years of our chairmanship. Our chairmanship has, of course, been marked by the pandemic of COVID-19. Allow me, however, to share a number of these achievements. As a matter of fact, Niger held a number of seminars, both in person and online, that brought together a number of experts. In person, we held seminars on the challenges facing our Ummah in the combat against extremism and fanaticism in Africa, particularly within the youth framework. This has allowed us to exchange with youth views and take necessary measures for the benefit of the youth. We have also held 2 meetings, one regarding the contact group on Jammu and Kashmir, of which Niger is a member, and extended its support to the pertinent resolution of the OIC and of the Security Council of the United Nations. The second took place on the Al-Quds Sharif. I wish to underline our belonging to this committee and our consistent support to the Palestinian cause until they achieve their full fundamental rights. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, during our chairmanship, we have conducted discussions and a number of intergovernmental activities. The text adopted will be submitted for your consideration. I have in mind the rules of procedure on the meetings of the CFM and draft resolution of 47, draft resolution of rules of procedure for the contact groups, subject of the resolution 4/48, concerning the rules of procedure governing the action of the non-member states of the OIC. It has been discussed and will need further re-examination by experts. A number of discussions that we have undertaken with the expert groups have not been followed with positive results. Therefore, there is a need for enrichment and consensus. Concerning the encounter between the experts on violent extremism that we have carried out in collaboration with the General Secretariat without positive results. I wish to underline here that you have here an important opportunity to carry out and continue these discussions. Once again, I would like to express thanks to you for your support for the achievement of the ambitions of the OIC in the Sahel region. This initiative will allow us to take into consideration the program of this part of the Ummah. On a different plan, I would like to encourage you for the pertinent views expressed during the brainstorming session. These exercises must continue to improve the forward march of our organization. In this respect, we need to continue to consider the possibilities available for proceeding to rotation of members similar to the Security Council, and to also put an end to the committee group. And I would like to thank again the authorities of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan for their efforts for the success of this session. Wassalamu alaikum.
Je vous remercie. Donc, je voudrais profiter pour proclamer la composition des membres du bureau de la 48e session.
Announce the composition of the committee as follows for the 48th session. Chairman, Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Vice Chairman, State of Palestine, Republic of Cameroon, and Republic of Yemen. And then as Rapporteur, Republic of Niger. Therefore, I would like to invite the Minister of the Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to come and take the succession of our chairmanship.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Thank you, Excellency Mr. Hosseini Massoumi, Minister for Republic of Niger, for your commendable work as Chair of the 47th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers. It is my privilege, indeed, to steer the proceedings of this august gathering. I will now, as the Chair, invite I think I have to make the opening statement first. I will now, with your permission, Excellencies, make the opening statement. Honorable Prime Minister Imran Khan, Secretary General Haseen Brahim Taha, Royal Highnesses, Honorable Foreign Ministers, Excellencies, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to the 48th session of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers, themed on unity, justice, and development. It is a matter of pride for us to host this meeting in 2022, which marks the 75th anniversary of Pakistan's independence. We commend the leadership role of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as the OIC Summit Chair. We also express profound gratitude to the OIC General Secretariat for facilitating this important meeting. Let me also express our highest appreciation to the Government of Niger for hosting the last CFM and leading the organization during the past year. Distinguished delegates, I am confident that our work during the next 2 days will be guided by the eternal Islamic values of amity and brotherhood, as embodied in the Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. The OIC is the collective voice of nearly 2 billion Muslims. It is a bridge among Muslim nations and between the Muslim world and the international community. Promoting solidarity and cooperation within the Muslim Ummah is one of the central pillars of Pakistan's foreign policy. As chair of the OIC CFM during 22-23, Pakistan's overarching goal shall be to solidify this bridging role further. Distinguished delegates, I want to take this opportunity to reflect on some of our collective recent achievements. Indeed, a consequence of our partnership for unity, justice, and development, the very theme of the OIC CFM. We met in this hall last December, uniting within an exceptionally short span of time for the extraordinary session of the CFM on Afghanistan. Together, we made some historic and concrete decisions. We agreed to establish the OIC Humanitarian Trust Fund. We appointed a special envoy of the OIC Secretary General. We launched an Afghanistan food security program. We strengthened OIC's presence in Afghanistan by reinforcing the OIC mission in Kabul. These actions that we took continue to go a long way with helping our Muslim brothers and sisters in Afghanistan in their greatest time of need. Also, you will recall, at the last OIC CFM in Niamey, we came together to call for an International Day to Combat Islamophobia. Today, I'm proud to stand before you with the Muslim Ummah, welcoming the recent designation of 15th March as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia by the UN General Assembly. The International Day to Combat Islamophobia was designated such owing to our unity as the OIC. Pakistan is gratified to have played its role in garnering consensus on this important issue. Through the observance of this day, the OIC will enhance greater global awareness of Islamophobia and advance solutions through collective action. Further, while recounting our achievements, I also want to touch upon the tremendous work being done by our collective platforms. ComStech has been instrumental in enhancing cooperation and coordination in scientific and technological fields, including through partnerships, capacity building, and joint research programs. It is playing a leading role in the implementation of OIC Science and IT Agenda 2026. Pakistan is pleased to host the ComStech headquarters in Islamabad. Since its inception, Islamic Development Bank has to date mobilized $65 billion for investment and development assistance aid. It is one institution which has consistently been rated AAA across all international rating agencies. The Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, based in Karachi, is galvanizing investment, influencing policy, making and undertaking initiatives for development of the private sector. I mention some of these achievements to you all here today, not to blow our own trumpets, but rather for these to serve as a blueprint for constructive and tangible action and as an impetus for collective action moving forward. Distinguished delegates, we are witnessing unprecedented turbulence at the global level. Conflict in Ukraine, which has rekindled East-West tensions, threatens international peace and security. A new and destabilizing global arms race is underway. Conflicts among and within nations have proliferated. Political and military blocs are vying for more power at the cost of global equilibrium. World trade and growth are declining under the weight of technology wars. Inequality has become a defining feature of our times. The COVID-19 pandemic has increased inequalities through greater debt burdens, fiscal deficits, and liquidity crunch. Rising commodity prices will further accentuate inequalities, erode development gains, and hinder progress towards sustainable development goals. Climate change is accelerating and making parts of our Earth inhospitable and warmer than ever. The Muslim world is faced with conflicts in the Middle East, prolonged foreign occupation, and the denial of the right to self-determination, most notably to the people of Palestine and Kashmir. The Muslim world's resentment is increasing due to frequent external interventions in Muslim countries. Distinguished delegates, left unaddressed, these conflicts and disputes undermine our unity and solidarity, expose our countries to foreign interference and intervention, fuel terrorism and extremism, and deflect attention from our development goals and the welfare of our peoples. To help forge a collective response and under the theme of partnering for unity, justice, and development, I would like to focus on three specific challenges. First, partnering for unity by jointly addressing the challenges and conflicts within the Ummah. Second, uniting for justice for the rights of Muslims under occupation and conflicts with countries beyond our Ummah. This should also include the urgency of addressing the pervasive Islamophobia facing Muslims in non-Muslim majority countries. Third, partnering for development by effectively addressing the triple global crisis of COVID-19, development, and climate change. Distinguished delegates, the Holy Quran says to the believers, "Hold fast, all of you, to the cord of Allah and be not divided." In this era of global turmoil, the situation of Muslims in many parts of the world is heart-wrenching. Currently, more than 60% of all conflicts in the world exist in Muslim countries. From Yemen to Syria to the Sahel, the range of conflicts in the Muslim world and their intensity is palpable. These are festering wounds on the body politic of Islam. More than 2/3 of all refugees worldwide come from just 5 countries: Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar, and Somalia. Above all, the Muslim countries are hosting the largest number of refugees. While we must work to prevent outside interference in the Muslim world, we alone can find solutions to internal fissures and challenges. The key to ending these conflicts and disputes is comprehensive engagement and cooperation among the Islamic countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic world is endowed with both natural and human resources that are unmatchable. We are home to over 1/4 of the world's entire youth. This unparalleled youth bulge is yearning for opportunities and progress. It is a harbinger of innovation, industry, and growth. Prime Minister Imran Khan has declared the year 2022 as investment in the youth. Building on this potential, it is time for the Ummah to forge a collective response to the current turmoil inside its borders and the ongoing global transition. We must be a reliable partner in forging unity, justice, and development across the globe, but not anyone's accomplice in aggression or domination. To this end, I propose convening an OIC ministerial conference during 22-23. This conference, among others, could assess the need for establishing a peace and security architecture akin to all other regional organizations. This conference should also discuss how the OIC can and must strengthen itself by developing and deploying tools for conflict prevention, mediation, reconciliation, and peace building. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, partnering for justice is an injunction from the Quran. Allah enjoins Muslims to be upholders of justice, witnesses for Allah. The vision behind the OIC creation was to raise the united voice of the Islamic Ummah against the injustices perpetrated against Palestinian Muslims under occupation. But even 50 years of the OIC establishment, after 50 years of the OIC establishment, we are far from seeing justice for Muslims in many parts of the world. The Muslims of Palestine and the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are still reeling under subjugation. For the last 7 decades, they have struggled to achieve their inalienable right to self-determination. Under the relevant United Nations resolutions, a permanent solution to the Palestinian question with the pre-1967 borders and Al-Quds al-Sharif as the capital of a viable, independent, and contiguous Palestinian state is essential. Similarly, Kashmir continues to bleed. The threat of genocide is most imminent in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The RSS BJP Hindutva-inspired government in India has unleashed a reign of terror by an occupation force of 900,000 in IIOJK since the 5th of August 2019. Akin to the situation in Palestine, this is accompanied by illegal efforts to change the demographic structure of the occupied territory and transform it into a Muslim minority region. This is a clear violation of international law, particularly the Fourth Geneva Convention. Indian actions violate the resolutions of the UN Security Council and the OIC on Jammu and Kashmir. The illegal acts increased the threat of a conflict between India and Pakistan. Kashmiris are looking towards their Muslim brothers and sisters for support. India's violence against Muslims is not limited to IIOJK. Civil society organizations and independent observers have warned that Muslims in Hindutva-controlled India are also living under the threat of genocide. Our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, said that believers are just like one body. When one of the limbs suffers, the whole body responds to it with wakefulness and fever. It is incumbent to resolve these challenges by partnering with the international community as well. Beyond adopting resolutions, we must take concrete and tangible steps towards permanent solutions. A similar resolve and unity is needed in countering the ideologies of hate, such as Islamophobia and right-wing racism. Repeated incidents of desecration of the Holy Quran and reprinting of caricatures have seriously hurt the sentiments of Muslims across the world. They also cause great anguish within the Islamic world. While we welcome the recent designation of 15th of March as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia by the UN General Assembly, we believe the appointment of the OIC Secretary General's Special Envoy on Islamophobia during this CFM would be a concrete step in coordinating such collective action. It should be our shared objective to ensure that deliberate insults and defamation of all religions, including Islam, should also be criminalized, and we must be united to achieve this. I propose that the Secretary General OIC develop a comprehensive report on the theme of partnering for justice and present recommendations to the next OIC CFM on how the OIC, through proactive and innovative diplomacy, could strengthen its role in securing justice for the long oppressed Muslims facing hateful ideologies and occupation. Distinguished delegates, to forge partnerships for development, the OIC countries must mobilize international support for a comprehensive strategy that should include: 1, vaccine equity. Everyone, everywhere, must be vaccinated against COVID-19. 2, increased development financing. This can be ensured through comprehensive debt relief and restructuring, expanded ODA, redistribution of at least half of the unutilized SDRs to developing countries, and provision of the promised climate finance. 3rd, accelerated climate action. The agreement reached at Glasgow must be the baseline for future discussions. The OIC must call for additional commitments by the international community to achieve the agreed mitigation targets, support for adaptation, and loss and damage in developing countries due to climate change. 4, the resolute action against illicit financial flows, corruption, and illegal transfer of assets have adversely impacted many Muslim countries, including Pakistan. The OIC countries must develop a comprehensive legal framework to halt and reverse the illicit financial flows and stop this grave economic injustice. We must call for the implementation of the recommendations of the UN Secretary General's FACTI panel. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, underdevelopment, poverty, and corruption remain serious threats to the future security and stability of our societies. In an era of economic and financial unpredictability, development partnerships among OIC member states would be of vital importance. OIC member states have tremendous natural and human resources which must be utilized effectively through trade, joint research and development projects, trainings, and investment. To promote research and technological innovation in the Muslim world, we need to synergize the Muslim scientific and intellectual pool and fully utilize the platform of COMSTEC to achieve the OIC STI Agenda 2026. We also need to take advantage of a preferential system of trading among the OIC member states. In this regard, the framework agreement needs to be ratified expeditiously by OIC. We should also come together and build convergences on removing international barriers to development. Our common ground on the need to reform the global economic architecture will strengthen the voices calling to make it equitable. Distinguished delegates, before I conclude, I would like to draw your attention to the situation in Afghanistan. While the progress we made at the extraordinary session of the CFM on Afghanistan was timely, we need to build on them. Addressing the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan and preventing a collapse of the Afghan economy must remain our top priorities. In doing so, we must encourage and support the efforts of the Afghan authorities to eliminate Daesh. Effective strategies are also needed to deal with other terrorist groups in Afghanistan like TTP, ETIM, IMU, and Al-Qaeda. We must guard against spoilers that wish to continue destabilizing Afghanistan and using its territory to promote terrorism. A peaceful, stable, inclusive, prosperous, and connected Afghanistan is in the best interests of us all. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for OIC to strengthen and equip itself to address contemporary challenges and conflicts confronting the Muslim Ummah. Pakistan stands ready to play its part as a bridge builder in promoting regional and OIC-driven solutions to these conflicts and disputes. With the hope and prayer for true OIC unity and solidarity, I thank you all. I now invite His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for his speech. He will speak on behalf of the OIC Summit Chair.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. دولة السيد عمران خان رئيس وزراء جمهورية باكستان الإسلامية، معالي السيد شاه محمود قريشي وزير خارجية جمهورية باكستان الإسلامية، معالي الأمين العام
Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the Secretary General of the OIC, dear participants, I wish to express my thanks for the Islamic Republic of Pakistan for the lavish hospitality accorded to us. I wish them full success in the chairmanship of the current session. I wish to seize this opportunity to congratulate the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and its people for the 75th commemoration of the independence of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and we wish them more prosperity and success. I wish to extend my thanks to the Republic of Niger for its chairmanship of the 48th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers in spite of COVID-19, and I congratulate them for the achievements made by the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in adopting a day to fight against Islamophobia. There are also more efforts made to achieve greater success in the Islamic Ummah. I wish to extend my thanks to the people working in the OIC Secretariat under the leadership of the Secretary General for the sound organization of this meeting. I congratulate them on the continued effort to achieve the noble goals of this organization. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia believes in the role of the OIC in consolidating Islamic solidarity and in protecting common interests to preserve the noble, lofty values of Islam. This will lead to greater cooperation and understanding on the basis of mutual respect among all cultures and religions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has clear values in consolidating Islamic cooperation and brotherhood among member states with a view to enforcing coordination to face the common challenges. And there was the meeting on Afghanistan in December 2020, and this was a successful meeting which led to the establishment of the Humanitarian Trust Fund under the IDB. Dr. Khatib was appointed as a representative of this fund. The Kingdom reiterates the importance of the role of Islamic countries to achieve peace and security in Afghanistan. We call for further efforts to support the Afghan people so that they can overcome the tragic situation they have at the moment. We hope that Afghanis will participate in building the future of their country through dialogue among the various components of the Afghani societies, and to avoid using Afghani land as for terrorist activities. We also call for the respect of human rights and the rights of women to work and study on the basis of our values. Dear participants, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia reaffirms the centrality of the Palestinian cause. It supports all the international efforts at reviving the peace process among the conflicting parties and the return to direct negotiations to settle all the standing issues between the two parties. We reaffirm our support to the Palestinian people in order to achieve a lasting peaceful settlement of the Palestinian cause with the establishment of an independent Palestinian state and in line with international resolutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the continued escalation by the Houthi group reflects the rejection of political settlement. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia calls for the implementation of the UN resolutions to neutralize the negative impact of Houthi groups and to stop importing arms in Yemen. This is a threat to the region. we reiterate the importance of the role of brothers to apply more pressure on the Houthis so that they can stop jeopardizing maritime security. On the basis of reducing the suffering of the Yemeni people, we contribute to the humanitarian action and we provide humanitarian support to the Yemen people. The participants, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia stands by the Muslim communities to defend their values as sustained by our region. We also provide support to the people of Jammu Kashmir. We also support the efforts made by the international community to reach a just solution to the Jammu Kashmir issue. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is making steps to achieve its ambitious vision. We hope that this will be a model for the rest of the world. I would like to seize this opportunity to extend my thanks who have accepted to support the event in our country, and this will promote our values. We reiterate our support for the efforts made by this organization. We believe that this is the second international organization. It represents the third population of the world. We hope that this meeting will lead to success and will achieve more prosperity for our people. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Brother Faisal, for your speech. I now invite the Honorable Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Countries, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Brahim Taha, for his statement.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إن شاء الله.
And coordination that we have noted in the preparation for this present 48th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC. Whilst we congratulate the Islamic Republic of Pakistan on its assumption of the presidency of this current session, I would like to express my deep appreciation for its strong commitment to the OIC and its valuable contributions to promoting joint Islamic action. Such a firm commitment is bound to ensure the success of the present session. It is indeed for us a great pleasure that this session coincides with the Islamic Republic of Pakistan's 75th Independence Day. As we extend our warm congratulations to it, we appreciate the achievements it has made for its people and the challenges it has overcome with a strong will and determination. We wish the Islamic Republic of Pakistan further progress and prosperity. I would also like to commend the efforts of the Republic of Niger during its presidency of the CFM's 47th session under difficult circumstances overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic. That session has been crowned with full success and given prompt support for the forward march. I would like here to renew my high appreciation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the host country, chair of the 14th session of the Islamic Summit, for its sustained support of the OIC's activities and the General Secretariat's work under the patronage of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and of his Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Vice Chairman. May Allah preserve them both. Your Excellencies and Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to renew to you and your governments my thanks and appreciation for the support you have given to me while assuming my duties as Secretary General of our prestigious General Secretariat of the OIC, and to assure you of my firm commitment to work as per the requirements of the OIC's Charter to defend the issues of the Islamic Ummah and observe the decisions and resolutions adopted by the Islamic Summit and the Council of Foreign Ministers. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome the distinguished representatives of the international bodies and regional ones, partners of the OIC. Their presence is a testimony of the interest they attach to the role of the organization in contributing to peace, security, and development worldwide. The OIC is satisfied with the dialogue and cooperation it entertains with them all. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our present session is being held under the theme of partnership for unity, justice and development, a theme that is quite topical for the achievement of the aspirations of our peoples with the OIC in this particular conjuncture in which the Islamic Ummah finds itself confronting multiple types of challenges. Today, the Palestinian cause, the OIC's central issue, is still facing severe challenges with the persistence of the Israeli occupation policies based on colonial settlement, the Judaization of the city of Al-Quds, and the assault on the holy sites, especially the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque. In addition to the continued murders, confiscation of lands, house demolition, arbitrary arrests, racial discrimination, apartheid, and ethnic cleansing against the Palestinian people. These illegal practices constitute a flagrant violation of the relevant international law, covenants, and resolutions. The perpetuation of these Israeli crimes and attacks against the Palestinian people, their land and their sanctities, makes it imperative for us to strengthen the spirit of solidarity and joint Islamic action and realize the political will through diplomatic efforts in international fora in support of the rights of the Palestinian people and confronting attempts to change the historical and legal status of the city of Al-Quds al-Sharif with firmness in implementation of the relevant resolutions adopted by the successive summit and CFM's resolutions. The issue of Jammu and Kashmir is also a just cause that has not found a solution for such a long time. And we oppose the illegal actions by India on August 5th, 2019, to change the internationally disputed status of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In last November, a high-level delegation from the General Secretary of the OIC, led by the Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs, Special Representative of Jammu and Kashmir, with the participation of the Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian, Cultural and Social Affairs, effected a visit to Pakistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir within the framework of the implementation of the mandate entrusted to the General Secretariat under Resolution 1047 on the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir as adopted by the Council of Foreign Ministers. On the other hand, the report of the session in question is submitted for your attention. The OIC is called upon to redouble its efforts in support of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, including their rights to self-determination in conformity with the resolutions of the Security Council of the United Nations. The developments of these issues will be considered by the contact group on Jammu and Kashmir, which will meet here in Islamabad on the sidelines of our meeting. With regard to Afghanistan, we have followed all the aspects and the implementation of the resolutions issued from the 7th Ministerial Council held in Islamabad on 19 December 2021. In Islamabad, in this regard, I've assigned my special envoy to Afghanistan directives to cooperate with the Islamic Development Bank that has graciously prepared the legal framework and the legal fund as established by the SAFM. The fund will be officially launched on the margin of this present session. On the other hand, I have dispatched my special envoy to Afghanistan, and he has held broad discussions with the ministers in Kabul concerning the efforts of the organization in the humanitarian, political, and economic field. I submit to your kind attention a special report on the progress achieved in the implementation of the resolution on the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan on the aspects linked to this first visit. Therefore, we shall continue dialogue with the authorities in Afghanistan, with international partners, with the objective to achieve peace, security, and development in this member country of the OIC. With regard to the aggression of the Republic of Armenia against the Republic of Azerbaijan, and a meeting and an agreement was held on November 2020 and put an end to the aggressions. Azerbaijan expressed concern in the face of non-observance of the Republic of Armenia of its obligations as stipulated in the agreement between the concerned parties. The General Secretariat concerned with the delayed settlement of the conflicts and under the CFM and the International Council will continue its interest of this issue. Excellencies, honorable ladies and gentlemen, the situation in Yemen still causes deep concern for our organization, which has committed itself to support Yemen's unity, sovereignty, and independence and territorial integrity, alleviating the human suffering and the conflict on the basis of international law, namely the initiative of the Gulf states and the executive mechanisms and the conclusion of the Conference of National Dialogue in Yemen and the resolutions of international legality, especially the resolution 2216/2015 of the United Nations Security Council. In this context, the General Secretariat of the OIC salutes and hails the idea that the General Secretariat hails the initiative announced by the Ministerial Council of the Gulf States to organize Yemeni consultations at the Saudi capital in Riyadh at the end of the present month. An initiative that will make it possible to fill the gap between the Yemeni brothers and to engage in an action to stop the blood selling, and to continue the action and for the stability and security in the region. In this context, we renew our appreciation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its unremitting efforts and initiatives to contribute to expediting a peaceful and lasting solution to the Yemeni crisis. I also reiterate the thanks and appreciation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Emirates for their solidarity with our organization in the face of the condemned attacks by the Houthi militants against civilians and civilian targets. Over the past period, Developments in Libya, in Sudan and Somalia have been a subject of continued consideration of the General Secretariat, which encouraged all parties concerned to adopt dialogue, and we today encourage them to redouble their efforts to overcome differences and lay the basis for stability and peace, for development, and to ensure that the interest of their peoples prevails. With regard to Syria, the General Secretariat continues supporting the efforts of the United Nations to achieve a peaceful solution to the crisis in conformity with the Declaration of Geneva and the resolution of the Security Council. With regard to Iraq, the convening in October 2021 of the anticipated early elections represent a positive element that we have registered and that we hail. As you all know, the political and security challenges and developments faced by the Sahel countries, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, and the Lake Chad Basin, Cameroon, Chad, Niger and Nigeria, as well as Central Republic of Africa, Mozambique and Guinea, reflects an important interest for the OIC. We underline the need to increase efforts to achieve peace and stability in these regions, and we call on the member states and the OIC institutions, as well as international partners, to help these regions to face up to the challenges confronting them. It is within this framework, to give a new launch for our organization in Africa, including in the Lake Chad and Africa, that I paid a visit in the current month to Chad, Cameroon, Niger and Senegal. And I had an opportunity to discuss with the leaders in those countries regarding these issues and ways and means to strengthen the OIC support to those countries. On the other hand, the delegations, high-level delegations from the OIC General Secretariat, led by the Assistant Secretary for Political Affairs, Dr. Dubey, paid a visit to Abuja to hold discussions with the leaders of the Commission of the OCDAO on ways and means to strengthen cooperation and coordination of efforts so as to contribute to peace, security, and development in the region. Strengthening the positive role of organization in Africa requires as well the designation of special envoy. To this effect, I recommend to your August Council to designate Dr. Nasiru Baku Arifari, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Benin, as special envoy of the OIC General Secretariat for Africa, and I hope that he will benefit of your support. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Bosnia is facing a preoccupying situation due to certain Serb parties and to their involvement and offensive, and this requires support for Bosnia-Herzegovina to help it preserve its territorial unity, its stability and sovereignty and prosperity. Our organization expresses as well its full support to the efforts in favor of a global and just resolution to the Cypriot issue, and its support with the Turkish Cypriot Muslims in conformity with the pertinent resolutions of the OIC. Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the well-being and defense of human rights of Muslim communities in the non-member states in conformity with the principles and objectives as included in the Charter of the organization form a priority also in our action. We continue increasing our efforts to this end through visits and dialogue with the leaders of the concerned parties. In this context, we express our profound concern with regard to the situation of Rohingya, and we call on the international community to act in an efficient manner and urgent manner to ensure proper conditions for the voluntary return of the people, the refugees, the Rohingyas, to their original homeland. We register our support for judicial action with the International Court of Justice for the recovering of listenings in support of the Rohingyas, to put an end to all the forms of violence against them. I should like on this occasion to pay a special tribute to Gambia, to the Republic of Gambia, for their frontland role in support of the affairs, and the meeting of the committee today against the violation of human rights against the Rohingyas would allow us to find a solution and to face up to the offensive in this regard. Honorable participants, according to the official reports of the Observatory of Islamophobia in the OIC, the reputation of the Muslim community in a number of countries is subject to defamation at a time when action is increasing against Muslims due to the rise of extreme right. All Islamic states are called upon to act together against such a situation and take necessary measures to fight against racist and xenophobic actions at all levels, and to establish pillars of security and peace. In this regard, we dare rely on the member states to act together with the General Secretariat against Islamophobia. On the other hand, we need to collaborate with all the members of the international community to combat this phenomenon. It is with satisfaction that we have welcomed the adoption in 15th March by the General Assembly of the United Nations of a resolution designating the 15th of March of each year as an International Day of the fight against Islamophobia. We express the hope that it will contribute to favor a dialogue at the international level of a culture of tolerance and peace. Our fight against terrorism is also an absolute priority for our organization. In order to face up to this phenomenon, we have established a multidimensional strategy on the basis of international law and the Convention of the OIC on Anti-Terrorism Act, including the question, one of the issues to which we attach special attention. I would like to draw attention to strengthening cooperation between the member states in culture and civilization. This is a subject of consultations that the General Secretariat is undertaking with the member states and international and regional bodies that partners in this field. And this is the object of active action. In this regard, I would like to avail of the opportunity to congratulate the UAE for having hosted the exhibition 2022, which has been the subject of consistent cooperation between the member states. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the field of social development and protection of values and regarding the institution of marriage and family, the General Secretariat is getting ready to convene other meetings of experts to achieve the discussion of the project of Convention of the OIC on the rights of children in Islam, a project that was elaborated with the Permanent Commission and Independent Commission of Human Rights, IPHCR. With regard to the freedom of women and empowering women, I would like to hail the Republic of the Arab Republic of Egypt, the host country of the Organization for the Rights of Women, for having allocated a special building to headquarter to host the organization. At the level of the capacity building of youth, I would like to pay special tribute to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for having decided to welcome and host the 5th session of Islamic Conference of Ministers of Youth and Sports that was regrettably delayed due to the COVID-19. This General Secretariat continues its coordination with the Saudi authorities with regard to set a special date for the said conference. In terms of the media, the organization have sped up its investments in new media to enlighten the member states and the public international public opinion regarding the vital issues for the Islamic Ummah and for the Muslim communities in non-member states, as well as to educate the world about its projects and efforts in support of the least developed countries to face up to the propagation of the coronavirus pandemic. In the humanitarian field, the OIC General Secretariat services have been developed further over the past few years in collaboration with the international bodies. In this regard, I would like to thank all the member states and institutions of the OIC that have contributed to supporting humanitarian action of our organization, particularly the Islamic Solidarity Fund and the humanitarian partners, for most of which I would like to quote the King Salman Center for Humanitarian Action. The General Secretariat has put in enormous efforts to help the member states, the least developed countries, to face up to the pandemic of the coronavirus, to adopt and adopted multiple initiatives in this regard, including the opening of a special fund for the reception of accounts of contributions in support of the World Health Organization. In this regard, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has made a 20 million real donation in support of this fund for the acquisition of vaccines in coordination with the Salman Center for Humanitarian Action. I wish to avail of the occasion to launch an appeal to the member states to contribute further to this account to finance the purchase of vaccines for the benefit of the least developed countries in the OIC. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years have passed by, and we have not yet been able to get out of the COVID pandemic. Due to this pandemic, measures taken during this period, our countries have faced economic difficulties and a drop of exportations of tourist activities. Based on this fact, the post-corona action occupies a special place in our action. In this regard, our organization has paid particular action for the implementation of these programs and economic projects in agriculture, in rural development, food security, employment and protection, social protection, and strengthening exchanges in trade and encouragement of investment in order to ensure the realization of the objectives as announced in our action program OIC 2025. Bearing in mind the importance of cooperation in the economic and trade fields between the member states and within the framework of the implementation of the resolutions issued by your Council to organize a forum on investment in Africa, I've accorded particular attention to this issue, and I'm about to finalize the details of which I will inform you in due time. I'm happy to inform you also that the 8th session of the Islamic Conference of the OIC on food security and agricultural development, held in Istanbul in the Republic of Turkey on 25th, 27th October 2021, has given a new impetus to cooperation in the sector. The ministers have adopted 3 programs of the OIC for agricultural development and strategies such as food stocks and rice and other products. Within the same framework, the OIC tourist conference and labor conference that will be held this year, respectively in Azerbaijan and the UAE, will allow the member states of our organization to take stock of the current situation in this particular sector and to elaborate a common strategy such as to enable us to face up to the challenges and alleviate the adverse effects of the coronavirus on the sectors of tourism and labor. Excellencies, Highnesses, the OIC has intensified its action in favor of strengthening cooperation between the member states in order to ensure the progress of its agenda in the field of science, technology, higher education, health, water and environment as fundamental pillars of the strategy of the OIC for the eradication of poverty, of disease, illiteracy and extremism. I'm happy therefore to recall that the second summit of the OIC on technology that was held online in June last has taken stock of the steps fulfilled by the member states in the field of technology and their policies and national strategy in this field. Therefore, undoubtedly, providing a high-quality level of education will be the optimal means against underdevelopment. The OIC plays an important role in the training of students of the member states. Allow me here to express my due thanks and gratitude to all the member states and organizations that give financial support to our universities, in consecration of greater solidarity and cooperation among the member states in the field of higher education, of programs of exchange in the member states to provide larger numbers of scholarships for the students, particularly in the least developed countries. In the field of health, the General Secretariat, in collaboration with the competent, relevant organizations of the OIC, has adopted a traditionally well-approved approach to help the member states face up to the adverse effects of the COVID-19 with the help of the steering committee on health, of ministers of health, as well as the urgent measures taken by the ministers of foreign affairs. Secondly, an urgent financial support from the member states through the ISF and the group of the development, the IDB, and through action against fallacious media propaganda. Within the framework of legal convention and statutes adopted by the Islamic meetings and the Council of Foreign Ministers, represents the framework such as to allow the organization to fulfill its action in conformity with the agreements signed by the member states. In this regard, I'd like to renew our call to the member states that have not yet signed or ratified the agreements concluded within the framework of the organization to do so, so that these mechanisms may be established and become operative. At the forefront of this document, I would like to note the charter of the organization, the statute of the organization for women's development, and the Islamic organization for food security that are already operative, but there still are other important institutions that have not seen their statutes entering into force, such as the Labor Center and the Center for Cooperation and Policy Support. Within the framework of reform of the General Secretariat, a study has been elaborated by the Public Administration Institute in collaboration with the General Secretariat. The study has led to the elaboration of an organigram, a project for the General Secretariat, which are reflected in the annexes of my present report to this August body. The General Secretary, in implementation of the resolution of the OIC Foreign Ministers Conference, has held expert group meetings to elaborate new rules and regulations and to amend certain procedural rules. The General Secretariat has elaborated a draft resolution to govern the work of the contact group, and another one to govern the OIC offices abroad, the members of the committee and the statute and the rules of regulation of the OIC. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the applications for observer status and consultative status are increasing day by day, with the increasing number of requests submitted by the General Secretary, received by the General Secretary from non-member states and international organizations and humanitarian organizations. We are gratified of this interest of these members, and I express the hope that I will have your support to find the appropriate formula for the granting of observer and consultative status for the applications where the requests are submitted by parties that meet the conditions in conformity with the mandate submitted to us by the 47th session and the Council of Foreign Ministers. The program for action 2025, as adopted by the former Council, constitutes an optimal framework that brings together the objectives and the activities on vital fields for the member states. Concerted efforts must be put in by all to implement effectively the said program. The program's action must be finalized this year. I invite the member states to kindly submit to Sherick as soon as possible the statistical necessary data to fulfill this important exercise that will enable us to evaluate the progress of the implementation of the action program for achieving the various objectives that I have just enumerated, and to increase the capacity of the organization to face up to the challenges and help us move forward for the implementation of the necessary reforms of our organization and the various organs with the support and commitment of the member states. We also rely on your financial support to the organization and its various organs so that they may implement and ensure the follow-up of all plans or programs as approved by your Highnesses. We are confident that strengthening the role of the organization will support our common action and consecrate the spirit of solidarity between our member states. The General Secretary continues its efforts with the competent authorities in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the implementation of rules and procedures of the arrears of certain member states, for which the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has taken the initiative to settle their arrears within the OIC, within the framework of this continued assistance to the organization. These arrears represent an obstacle that prevents the organization from fulfilling its duties. These urgent commitments will be covered thanks to these donations, and we call for further support from the member states and the IDB. I wish to underline that the General Secretariat, within the framework of the implementation of recommendations of the Permanent Finance Committee, will work in consultation with the Chairman of the Permanent Finance Committee and Chairman of the Control Office to implement the rules and regulations and the recommendations, and we are actually looking into all the various items to prepare for the budget in a manner that takes into consideration the opening of the budgetary exercise in January and its closure in December, in conformity with the rules, regulations and procedures of the Permanent Finance Committee, CPR, as well as the rules and procedure of the finance control organ. In this context, the General Secretary will spare no efforts to implement the recommendations of the finance control organ issued by the 42nd session to strengthen transparency of the financial action. I should like to underline a proper and equitable geographical representation in the candidacies for posts. We call for efforts to recruit larger representatives of member states that are underrepresented to ensure an equitable geographical representation within the General Secretariat and subsidiary organs. Your Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, the world scene is subject to grave developments due to the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. This crisis could possibly adversely affect the development of our countries, including other world countries. This conflict is likely to affect exports of these two countries that represent over 28% of the world's offers. In this regard, I should like to encourage the member states to go from mere words to actions regarding the food strategies, food security strategies concerning wheat, rice, in order to ensure proper reserves at national, regional levels, and to ensure an acceptable level of self-sufficiency in the OIC, thus proceeding from the objectives as announced in the Charter of the OIC, and the OIC, particularly the contribution to the efforts for peace and stability. The General Secretariat has urged the concerned parties to work for a peaceful settlement of the Ukrainian crisis and to continue peaceful action in search of political solution that would guarantee lasting peace and security and preserve the security of populations. In conclusion, allow me to note that my address today to this August Council are only a summary of the efforts put in by the General Secretary of the OIC in the execution of the mission assigned to it, but further documentation, including my report on the activities of the organization, is submitted for your attention, and you will agree with me that the challenges are multiple, and I'm convinced and confident that together we shall be able to contribute to face up to these challenges. May Allah Almighty guide our steps towards the achievement of our objectives, for which we are working for the benefit of the Islamic Ummah and for achievement of the aspirations of peace, unity, justice, and development in our member states and worldwide. I thank you for your kind attention. Wassalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your valuable remarks. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will now hear a video message from the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, as you gather in Pakistan, I am pleased to send my greetings to the meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Council of Foreign Ministers. The United Nations, the OIC, enjoy a close, decades-long relationship rooted in trust and based on the shared belief in the values of multilateral cooperation, dialogue, and solidarity. Across Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and beyond, our two organizations have worked together to nurture a culture of peace, tolerance, and understanding. In recent years, we have successfully deepened our collaboration on key areas of mutual concern, including mediation, countering terrorism, preventing violent extremism, combating anti-Muslim hatred, and promoting religious tolerance. Today, the imperative to join forces, devise common strategies, and draw on our competitive advantages is more urgent than ever. In my recent report on our common agenda, I have offered proposals guided by the beacon of the Charter to update global governance, better manage risks and threats, and build a safer, more resilient and inclusive world set out in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Challenges abound, from the war in Ukraine and its global ramifications to growing inequalities and proliferating assaults on human rights. Developing countries, in particular, face crises on so many fronts. Vast inequity is blocking recovery, poverty is deepening, and countries are paralyzed by debt and liquidity issues. We must reform a morally bankrupt global financial system, and we must make sure that all countries have the resources they need to recover from the pandemic, build resilience against climate shocks, and support the Sustainable Development Goals. Only together, in unity, with partners at all levels, can we confront shared challenges and create a better future for all. Thank you.
I now request His Excellency Mr. Muhtar Tilberdi, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of the Republic of Kazakhstan, to deliver a statement. He will be speaking on behalf of the Asia Group of the OIC member states.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Minister Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, distinguished Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, distinguished Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, Secretary, Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, on behalf of the Asian Group of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and on behalf of the delegation of Kazakhstan, allow me to express appreciation to the government of Pakistan for the cordial hospitality and excellent arrangement of today's OIC ministerial meeting, titled Partnership for Unity, Justice and Development. I would like to express special gratitude to the OIC General Secretariat for the preparation of this meeting. I also would like to congratulate the Republic of Niger on the successful completion of chairmanship of the 47th session of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers. I wish all participants of this meeting a productive work for the prosperity of our Ummah. Dear colleagues, today on global scale, the world is going through a challenging period and undergoing significant changes. Military conflicts, confrontation between the West and the East, the Ukrainian crisis, the consequences of the pandemic, religious intolerance, instability in the financial and commodity markets, all of these have a negative impact on the performance of the global economy and security. We observe the continuation of such trends as multipolarity, economic globalization, informational advancement of society, multiculturalism, and transformation of the system of global governance and world order. The connectivity and interdependence of states is increasing, and we see growing trends of redistribution of the global balance of forces and increasing demand of global community for leadership related to the interest of peaceful and progressive development. Meanwhile, the situation with global and regional security is becoming more and more complicated with each passing day. Challenges and threats are running rampant. The hybrid confrontation is expanding, and fake news has become widespread, inciting ethnic, racial, and religious discord, thus even further exacerbating the regional conflicts. These are followed by entrenching traditions of unilateral approaches to addressing international issues, that is, through the use of force. Such development contributes to growing practices of interference in the internal affairs of other states, infringing of the rights of sovereign advancement, and simultaneously regional international cooperation. This ultimately hinders the progress of humankind and destroys trust as the foundation of stable peace. All these risks and threats are relevant for the Islamic world as well. Today, more than ever, the countries of the Islamic world and the OIC member states need unity and must defend their interest and position to preserve common values and provide all possible support and necessary assistance. And I believe that the subject of today's summit highlights the importance of this idea. Nowadays, Kazakhstan is creating a concept of new Kazakhstan. Recently, President Tokayev announced the large-scale and meaningful reforms which cover almost all areas of life of the country. They include initiatives aimed at political liberalization, plurality, and openness. In the sphere of the economic, the reforms are focused on the tackling monopolization, improving living standards, and ensuring that all citizens feel the benefits of our growing economy. Societal reforms are aimed at improving health and education of the nation as well as other sectors. Kazakhstan today fully supports international efforts to ensure regional security and sustainable development of the countries of Eurasia. The ongoing global and regional processes require collective decision regarding resolute reunification of war, conflicts, confrontation, and choosing the path of peace, dialogue, and focusing on joint development. Against this backdrop, as an intergovernmental forum that brings together 27 member states, 9 observers, and more than half of the world population with the established political dialogue, Conference on Interaction, and confidence-building measures in Asia has a potential to become an effective tool for joint confrontation of new challenges and ensuring security and stability in the region. The key priority of Kazakhstan chairmanship at the SICA process is the transformation of the conference into a full-fledged international organization. Conversion into an international organization will significantly expand the capacity of the SICA and increase array of tools for practical cooperation between its member states. Within its chairmanship, Kazakhstan will hold the 6th SICA summit in Nur-Sultan on the 12th and 13th of November this year, which marks the 30th anniversary of the conference. This event aims to propel the SICA into a new level of institutional development. At the initiative of Kazakhstan, the Code of Conduct towards achieving the world free of terrorism was developed within the UN and opened for signature in 2018. It has now been signed by 89 countries. Since 2017, our capital has hosted 17 rounds of the Astana process talks on Syria, aimed at facilitating the efforts of the international community to resolve the prolonged conflict. Kazakhstan, like many OIC member states, is concerned about the situation in Afghanistan. Socio-economic and financial issues need to be addressed urgently to prevent large-scale humanitarian crisis in the region. Kazakhstan contributes within its capacity to the efforts of the world community to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan. We regularly provide humanitarian aid to the Afghan population, implement national and international programs to train Afghan youth, including girls, in educational institutions of Kazakhstan. In 2020, the KazAid, Official Development Assistance Agency, was established to assist the countries of Central Asia and Afghanistan in promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. The opening in Almaty city of the temporary remote office of UNAMA was a sign of the recognition of the role Kazakhstan and the organization's trust in our country. I would also like to emphasize the timeliness of the extraordinary meeting of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers on Humanitarian Situation in Afghanistan held in Islamabad on 19th of December 2021, which resulted in the adoption of the several practical decisions, including the launch of the Afghanistan Food Security Program under the aegis of the Islamic Organization for Food Security, and the establishment of the Humanitarian Trust Fund under the aegis of the Islamic Development Bank. In this regard, I call on the OIC Secretariat to assist the IOFC in the prompt launching the Afghanistan Food Security Program and the OIC member states to make generous contribution to this program. Regretfully, conflicts and military clashes continue among the Muslim countries today. The events in Yemen, Syria, and several African states have become a matter of concern. Therefore, we believe that the initiative of Islamic rapprochement remains relevant for peace and harmony in the Islamic world. Kazakhstan reaffirms its unwavering position for just and comprehensive solution to the Palestinian question on the basis of relevant resolutions of the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly in accordance with the two states for two nations principle. Moreover, we reiterate the OIC principled position on the Jammu and Kashmir dispute for peaceful settlement in accordance with the relevant United Nations Security Council. We are convinced that promoting the ideology of tolerance, mutual understanding, and cultural diversity is the key to combating hatred and discrimination. An example of interfaith dialogue is the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, which has been held in Kazakhstan since 2003 and is attended by the leaders of the Islamic world and the Secretary General of the OIC. The next 6th Congress will be held in September 2022 in Kazakhstan. Distinguished participants, in the face of the new challenges, the further transformation of the organization is important issue. Therefore, we need to swiftly conclude the process of reforming of the OIC. In this context, we are grateful to Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Bangladesh for their efforts and contribution for the holding of 2 expert group meetings on comprehensive reform of our organization. The combat against the COVID-19 pandemic and overcoming its consequences are still among the pressing issues on our cooperation agenda. At the current stage, I would like to emphasize the importance of uniting our efforts in the combat against the pandemic and an exchange of vaccines. In addition, Kazakhstan, within its activity in the UN, initiated the establishment of the International Agenda for Biology Safety, which in future will contribute to the prevention of biological threats and the exchange of information on dangerous diseases. Comprehensive support for this initiative will allow our countries to take timely measures in the future. The pandemic, more than anything else, showed the urgent need for the development of science and technology in the Muslim world and beyond. At the first OIC Summit on Science and Technology held in September 2017 in Nur-Sultan, Kazakhstan initiated the establishment of the OIC 15 group, which unites 15 leading Muslim countries in the field of science and technology to promote the potential of our Ummah in these areas. This year, Kazakhstan intends to hold a meeting of ministers of the OIC 15 group member states responsible for education, science, and technology. This step would also again demonstrate the need to consolidate efforts in the development of our own advanced science and technology as an important factor in achieving peace and prosperity. Distinguished colleagues, today many countries, including the Islamic world, are facing acute issue of ensuring food security due to the complex of geopolitical situation in the world and climate change. Many countries in Africa and Middle East are sounding the alarm and are requesting our help in providing essential products. Some countries are experiencing famine due to the crop failures last year. We are ready to cooperate in this area and consider it important to revitalize the Islamic Organization for Food Security and to use its potential to ensure access to food supply for countries in need. To date, 36 of the 56 OIC countries have joined this organization and only 17 countries have ratified its charter. We call on the members of the OIC to actively engage in the activities of the International Organization for Food Security. Last but not least, I invite distinguished delegation to support the resolution on granting the Organization of Turkic States the observer status in the OIC, which will be discussed this afternoon in the special committee. As a founding members of this organization, Kazakhstan is interested to enhance cooperation with important international organizations such as OIC. And we believe that strong partnership between OIC and different Asian regional organizations will increase the Islamic solidarity in the international arena and open a new avenue of cooperation. Availing this opportunity, I would like to inform that recently, on the 12th March this year, there was the early presidential election in the Turkmenistan, which, according to the international observers, was held in the fair, free and competitive atmosphere. As a result of election, His Excellency Mr. Serdar Berdimuhamedov, with the support of 73% of the electorate, has become a new president of Turkmenistan. Also, I avail this opportunity to express on behalf of the Asian group the heartfelt congratulations to the government and the people of Pakistan on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the independence of the Republic. And I wish peace and prosperity to the brotherly people of Pakistan. In conclusion, allow me to express the hope that all OIC will continue to advance its goals and objectives for the benefit of the entire Muslim Ummah. I wish all participants fruitful work at today's event, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your insightful remarks. I now request His Excellency Mr. Othman Jarandi, Foreign Minister of the Republic of Tunisia, to make his speech. He will be speaking on behalf of the Arab group of the OIC member states.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي السيد عمران خان الوزير الأول لجمهورية باكستان الإسلامية.
Imran Khan, Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Excellency Shah Mahmoud Qureshi, Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, we congratulate you on your chairmanship of this session and for the celebration of your Independence Day. Highnesses, Excellencies, Excellency Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, Secretary General of the OIC, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Arab group, I'm pleased to extend my greetings to Shah Mahmoud Qureshi, Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, for the efforts deployed to consolidate joint Islamic action. I also extend my thanks to the Republic of Niger for its excellent chairmanship of the previous session of our Council. I should seize this opportunity to hail the efforts made by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the chair of the Islamic Summit. I extend my thanks to Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, OIC Secretary General, for providing support to Arab states to further enhance the organization. Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the holding of this meeting under the motto of building partnerships